What is going on, Brooklyn Nets fans? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brooklyn Boys Show here on this Tuesday, August 12th edition of the show. I am your host, Josh Wolliver. Today, we deep dive into the Brooklyn Nets early depth chart and minutes breakdown, including everyone involved in the starting lineup, who's going to be coming off the bench early, who is going to be role players, and who might not make the roster. We get into that and so much more. We appreciate all of you tuning in right here on the Brooklyn Boys Show, streaming live on YouTube. We appreciate all of your support. Smash the like button and hit subscribe as we get things started. Let me know in the chat if all my audio is going well. I've had some technical difficulties in these past recent days, but it sounds like, at least on my end, that things are going over well. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. Can't stress it enough. This community has been so awesome on our road to 500 subscribers. Timothy in the chat, audio is good. Appreciate it. Smash the like, hit subscribe, helps us grow a ton on the show, completely free, and it goes a very long way as we try and get towards 500 subscribers approaching the NBA season. And again, Brooklyn Nets fans and all NBA fans of any shape, size, form, or team fandom, the biggest date to keep in mind these days, the NBA schedule release, August 14th. That is this Thursday. So it's coming right up, 2 days away. By the time tomorrow morning rolls around, we'll have Wednesday, and then it'll release sometime Thursday evening. So we appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Guys, ESPN has released their very early Brooklyn Nets. That sounds better audio-wise. Their very early Brooklyn Nets depth chart predictions and previews. So we'll get into all of that, my thoughts on it, and more. Let's start off hot here. Go down the line. Here it is, Brooklyn Nets projected depth chart. This is ESPN's rankings, courtesy of Nets Kingdom on Twitter. They do great work over there, so make sure you check them out if you haven't already. The starting five, pretty basic. If I was Jordy Fernandez, this is exactly how I would line them up on opening day. Dioman at the 1, Thomas at the 2, assuming everything's been figured out and he's not traded and off-shipped somewhere else. Zaire Williams at the 3, Michael Porter Jr., the newly acquired vet, coming in at the 4, and of course, Nick Claxton topping things off at the center position. For the starting lineup, again, no problems there. Young guy in Dioman has to come in and prove himself. Cam Thomas, as long as the contract disputes are out of the way by opening day and he's actually a member of this Brooklyn Nets team, he's no doubt your starting 2, a guy that can, on any given night, give you a 30 plus points. He's just, let's see if the progression is there in terms of dishing it out and getting the assists. Zaire Williams at the 3 showed you a ton last year, uses that lengthy, big time wingspan to play high quality defense. Also is good transition basketball player, leads the fast break. Overall, Zaire Williams, a guy that I really like having. I'm big on him. He was one of my favorite Nets to watch last season. A guy that can do everything for you. Gives you that effort on both ends of the floor defensively. He was absolutely amazing, and just a good overall addition to Jordy Fernandez's team. Just a guy that feels like his mojo fits right with Brooklyn. What he's trying to do is sort of what this Nets team is trying to build for in the future. So absolutely. Michael Porter Jr. We'll see him in his first couple Nets games at the beginning of the season. The addition as part of the Cam Johnson trade that sent a 2032 first over to Brooklyn. So absolutely him at the 4, sharp shooting 3-pointer. So, we hope that things go well for him, and he's a big time boost to this team's 3-point shooting percentage, which was not good last year, one of the worst in the NBA. And of course, Nick Claxton looking for his bounce back year, top things off at the 5. Let's see if he can get back to his previous form. But going a little bit past the starting lineup, which is pretty basic, pretty common. I think a lot of Nets fans would agree that this is what they would roll out on opening day if they were the head coach of this team making these decisions. You look a little bit down this depth chart, and you start to find a couple things confusing here. I want to first draw your attention to Noah Clowney being listed as a small forward. See, that makes no sense to me. I mean, he got a lot of run as a center last year on this team. I think Jordy Fernandez liked the way he shot. To me, this is a true four. A guy that's 6'9", 6'10", I think 6'10", is developing the three ball. No doubt that that's a process for Clowney. He's not just going to flip on that switch overnight, but if he can rebound and give you value as a big man shooting threes from the perimeter, and he's still good in the paint, Noah Clowney's a weapon, but the fact that he's listed as a three here is extremely confusing to me. He has no position being a three on this team at 6'10". Talk about a guy that could be a rebounder, and then you look over and you see Dariq Whitehead, a true small forward, at the four. So I have no clue why those guys aren't swapped around. That makes no sense to me. Clowney should definitely be at the four as more of a dual threat big man, and Whitehead should be at the three as more of a perimeter shooting small forward / guard. No reason he should be at the power forward spot. I think he's only 6'7". I think Dariq Whitehead is. Somebody double check me on that in the chat. So Whitehead and Clowney, why they're switched around doesn't make much sense to me. But what makes even less sense to me is why Tosan Iwoma is ahead of Dariq Whitehead. And if you flip around Whitehead and Clowney, the fact that Tosan Iwoma would be higher on this depth chart than Noah Clowney and Dariq Whitehead. That makes absolutely no sense to me. What does Tosan Iwoma bring to this team? A not good two-way player who can give you some minutes, but is going to spend a majority of the time in the G League over Dariq Whitehead, a guy who you really got to see on the court this year to see if he has anything in the tank. 2 injuries, a couple bad ones, one a leg injury. He asked to spend more time on Long Island. You have no clue what Dariq Whitehead is. He absolutely could develop into something great, but it's prove it or lose it right now for Dariq Whitehead. And Tosan Iwoma, a guy that I don't think should get any time in Brooklyn this year, is ahead of him on the depth chart, making absolutely zero sense. So Clowney at the 3, no. Iwoma ahead of Whitehead, no. Whitehead at the 4, no. There's a lot of question marks to move around here. But let's stay at the 4. Under Michael Porter Jr., Danny Wolf being the first guy off the bench as a big man, no, makes no sense. I think you got to put Clowney in there at the 4, and you got to have him in front of Wolf. Look, Danny Wolf was a guy that I was extremely high on after the Nets drafted. I thought they had a chance to be this team's starting center by the end of the year. But I'll be blunt with you. After what I saw in the Summer League, we'll see in the preseason, but after what I saw in the Summer League, his stock has gone completely down to me. I would much rather have Clowney out there on the floor, a guy who has NBA experience, and you're trying to develop as a three-point shooter. Clowney and Wolf, both guys that I could see their success in the future in Brooklyn. But right now, that edge is absolutely going to Noah Clowney over Danny Wolf. That's just extremely confusing. Again, folks, appreciate you all tuning in. A couple of you new guys into the building here. Smash like, hit subscribe. Helps pump out our content to fellow Nets fans. Drop everything you got to say about this pretty bad roster projection from ESPN in the chat. I want to hear everything you guys say so I can react to all that and more in just a couple of minutes. Wolf over Clowney makes no sense. And then I want to take you to the guards a little bit. I would much rather have, look at the 2 position under Cam Thomas. Personally, I don't think Terrence Mann's going to be a net for very long. If you can find someone to take that contract on, he's out of here as soon as you can, blink. But to me, having Tyrese Martin over Drake Powell in this depth chart is a little bit confusing. You want to see what you have in Drake Powell. You drafted him at 22 for a reason. Very high upside defender, scrappy guy, gonna dive for loose balls for you, can develop as a three-point shooter. He had it in college. Let's see what he has in the pros. Over Tyrese Martin, a guy that emerged on the scene in January of last year, converted his two-way to a standard contract. And look, I was happy for him. He showed up in that West Coast road trip against Phoenix where he dropped that, 40 piece out of nowhere. But other than that, Tyrese Martin didn't prove his consistency. To me, I would much rather see Drake Powell coming into the game for the Brooklyn Nets this year than Tyrese Martin and Powell, whether that be at the 2, maybe even the 3. Just Tyrese Martin there doesn't make a ton of sense to me. This is ESPN's projected 15 and then 3 two-way guys. One name I'm not seeing on this roster is Chinese, phenom Fenbo Zhang, who, to be honest, I would much rather make this roster than a guy like Tosan Awoma, than a guy like Tyson Etienne. Those guys present me no upside. Fenbo Zhang, you have no clue with. So a lot of times these international prospects these days are what is getting you, that's how you find these diamond in the roughs. These Luka Doncic's, these Nikola Jokic's. These guys aren't lottery picks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're not lottery picks. You're finding hidden international talent out there somewhere. I'm not saying Fenbo Zhang is going to come in here, be an all-star immediately and be an MVP calibration. But I can tell you that Tosan Awoma won't be. I can't tell you that Fenbo Zhang won't be. That's the difference to me. And for a Nets team that's going to win 25 or so games, I don't care if you know what you're getting out of Tosan Awoma. Personally, he was my least favorite Net last year. I really didn't want to see him on the court, and I don't want to see him again this year. So, can we get a guy like Fenbo Zhang to fill up that last two-way spot? That's absolutely the hope for me. Again, emphasis on getting these young guys run. Powell over Martin. Fenbo Zhang needs to work his way. And, we'll see it in the preseason, I guess. That's why this video is titled Way Too Early Depth Chart. We'll see it in the preseason. We still got a lot to learn. We haven't seen a day of Brooklyn Nets training camp yet. So it's not fair for me to say, Fenbo Zhang deserves a roster spot right now. We haven't seen anything out of him. But what I can say is that, if he looks somewhat good in preseason, absolutely give him a shot. Give him a shot at this point. This Nets team has something to lose. And then Sports Illustrated's Kyler Fox with, realizing and acknowledging that this Nets team has hit the cap on the players that they're able to take into training camp. They've hit that 21 mark, even though Zaire Williams and Day'Ron Sharpe, they've agreed to their contracts. They just haven't officially signed them into order yet. So those two are still pending, but they'll still be at training camp, full participants, all that. Of course, this is presuming Cam Thomas is a member of the Brooklyn Nets this year. We talked about it on yesterday's show about whether he'll take the qualifying offer, whether he's demanding closer to $40 million in an earth-shaking article from Nets Daily. Check out that video if you haven't yet. But considering this Nets team has reached the cap, there are some cut candidates. There are some trade candidates. And Kyler Fox of Sports Illustrated tosses 3 extremely intriguing names out in terms of cut and trade candidates. For this Nets team to narrow down the roster, for this Nets team to get other guys that you're trying to develop playing time instead of these 3. 3 names are Keon Johnson to start things off. A veteran guard who, has that locker room presence, but again, guys behind him that, if Keon Johnson isn't on this team, I don't think it breaks anybody's heart around here. I know the Nets liked him last year. It was clear Jordi Fernandez was willing to give him that run, but look, this is going to be what Jordi Fernandez has called likely a 10-man rotation. I don't need to see Keon Johnson in that rotation by any means at all. I don't think if Keon Johnson isn't a member of this Brooklyn Nets team, I don't think that significantly affects the outlook on the season. Whether you can find a trade partner out there, whether at the end of the day he doesn't show you enough in training camp, you pull the trigger and you cut him. That's interesting to me enough, but the bottom line is you clear roster space. You get other guys in the rotation. I didn't like the Saraf pick, but if the Nets want to see him at the NBA level, Keon Johnson, the guy right there standing in his way. Another guy, another guard standing in somebody else's way. Terrence Mann. Look, if you can find a trade partner for this contract, I know it's unlikely, and I talked about this in the potential trade candidates video. I think it's going to be extremely hard to find a trade partner for Terrence Mann who's willing to eat that contract after you just basically got yourself a free first-round pick for it. But if you can deal Mann for anything, I would be 100% fine with it. 28-year-old guy clearly does not fit Brooklyn Nets' long-term plan, and I think he could be a valuable role player on this team. I don't think the Nets want him to be. This is a tanking lottery team at the bottom of the barrel in the East this year. Putting Mann out there doesn't do anything except restrict minutes from guys you actually want to see on the court. So Terrence Mann, to me, in the overall outlook of the season, has a negative effect. Smash the like, hit subscribe. You're watching the Brooklyn Boys Show live on YouTube. It is Tuesday, August 12th. We appreciate you sparing just a little bit of your Tuesday evening to be here with us live on the show. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Increases our outlook to fellow Brooklyn Nets fans. Helps us grow the community on our road to 500 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough in the chat. You mean the world to us over here at the Brooklyn Boys Show. Load up questions, comments, thoughts. I don't got a ton of them, but I wanted to get into some good questions about this Nets initial depth chart by ESPN. So load those up if you have anything related to the Brooklyn Nets. I'd love to hear your voice in the comment section below. I'll be responding to any and all Brooklyn Nets takes, questions, thoughts, anything you got to do. Toss them in the comments. We'll react to those. Dariq Whitehead is the last cut/trade candidate from Sports Illustrated's Skylar Fox. Whitehead's extremely interesting. To me, if you trade him, ideally it's 20 games into the season. You see what you can get. If his stock goes significantly up, I don't have a problem with getting rid of him there. Getting rid of him now doesn't do anything. It'd probably have to be a cut. Unless you're getting, 1 second-round pick, which I wouldn't hate for Dariq Whitehead right now with the injury past. But if you want to give him that shot, give him 20 games, I think absolutely. To me, outside of the injury issues with Whitehead, give him his run, try and raise his stock. To me, this is a guy with a pretty low ceiling. Even if he outperforms what I think he'll do in the first 20 games of the season, I don't know how many teams, that significantly raises their interest in Dariq Whitehead in. So you see a good 20 games out of him. You might just have to eat him, hope he can play a significant role on this team because he plays well in the first 2 months of the year. I don't know a team that just abandons everything else that's happened throughout his NBA career and gives you valuable assets for him back. So Dariq Whitehead, an extremely interesting name to keep your eye out. Here he's listed as the last power forward on this roster, which makes absolutely no sense to me. ESPN, what are you doing with this depth chart? Noah Clowney at the 3, Dariq Whitehead at the 4, Drake Powell as the last shooting guard on this team's roster, and Danny Wolf is the first big man coming off the bench, according to ESPN. I want to hear everything you guys have to say in the comments. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Josh Williver here with you on an August 12th edition of the Brooklyn Boys. Stay with us. After a word from our presenting sponsor, I get to all your questions, comments, thoughts.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show live August 12th. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm your host, Josh Bolivar. To all your questions, comments in a minute, today's presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards. We appreciate them and their continued support of the show. Hey, I was there today. Got my hands on a couple great cards. I think my favorite one, probably this Justin Fields rookie card. If you're a Jet fan, you know how much I am excited for the season. I'll be at the Jets-Giants joint practice tomorrow in East Rutherford. So Shoreline Sports Cards, we appreciate your continued support. They have some great stuff going on there, great deals. I got a 4-for-1 in terms of cards. Got 4 rookie cards for $1. So an absolute steal at Shoreline, the nicest people in the world over there. And if you are at all into sports cards like myself, I'm trying to get back into it. Had a thing going when I was a young kid in terms of baseball cards, but trying to work my way back into it. Shoreline Sports Cards, some of the nicest people in the world over there. Pop in, say what's up, and you heard it here. Links in the description below. Check out all their work, Instagram, whatnot, live drops and such. Back to Brooklyn Nets basketball. This ESPN's quote-unquote projected Nets depth chart. I got a lot of problems with it. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Let's go over to the line. Chris B checking in on the show. How's it going, Chris? Hope all is well with you too. Hit the like button, support, subscribe to the Brooklyn Boys Nets YouTube channel. Chris, you're the best, one of the best supporters. I know you're always in the Next Gen Jets chat, and Chris, your appreciate means the world and beyond. So thank you. Take Chris's advice, like and subscribe. Helps us grow significantly. Timothy Park in the building, another sustained listener. Appreciate you in the house, Timothy. What's up, Josh? How is Connor dealing with COVID? Connor is doing well. I think he's filling in today and tomorrow on the Jake Asman show, while Jake is going big time at ESPN Radio, New York. So Connor has been busy over there trying to get to sleep early, catch up on sleep. Smash like, hit subscribe on the Brooklyn Boys Show. 10 of you in the building. Road to 500 subscribers. Danielle, whoever made that depth chart does not know our roster. There were so many things wrong. I mean, you ask any net fan in the world, I mean, I don't think you have a single one that's not putting Noah Clowney, not the power forward or center spot. He played a lot of center last year. Played some dual time with Dayron Sharp and Nick Claxton in there as a 4-5 duo, but a lot of times he was the only big man on the floor when the Nets roll small. I mention it a lot. The Nets like to roll small. They have no issue with it. But putting him at the 3 as a small forward, come on. He's not that much of a perimeter shooter. ESPN, there's absolutely no reason Noah Clowney should be at the 3. So, I mean, Danielle, I'm with you here. A lot of problems with that roster. Tosan Awoma being right behind, right in contention for minutes at the 4 makes no sense to me. I don't want to see any of him at the NBA level this year. And then a couple other problems with it. Let's see what happens to Mann. Let's see what happens to Cam Thomas. Let's see if Tyrese Martin makes the team. But personally, I think Drake Powell, his stock could significantly rise. Let's see what happens with a couple bubble guys during the preseason and all throughout training camp. We'll have a couple reporters for the Nets on in just a couple of days to talk us through what is, happening there and who they think will make the roster. But For now, it's all speculation. Keon Johnson, Terrence Mann, Dariq Whitehead, a couple guys the Nets could clear out to try and make some roster space for some international question marks like Fenbo Zhang, who, those are the guys we got to see with. You got to give international guys a shot if you want them to pan out. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. Getting ready to wrap up here on a Tuesday edition of the Brooklyn Boys. Any final thoughts? If you can throw those in the comments, I'll react to those. But if not, we may begin to wrap up here pretty shortly. NBA fans, keep the date in mind. Thursday, August 14th. Coming up on 2 days to play. Just one full day Wednesday, and then we'll get the NBA schedule release, baby. Thursday, the 14th, we'll have reactions right here on this channel. What this means for the Nets, a couple of their biggest matchups and takeaways. We already saw the opening day schedule and the Christmas Day schedule. Neither of those featured the Brooklyn Nets. No surprise, this is going to be a tanking team, a bottom of the lottery team. So, who needs to see them on primetime? But we'll see. Hopefully, Nets fans, keep your fingers crossed for not a lot of back-to-backs. I know the NBA has been trying to work through fixing those for the past couple of years, but we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, it's not too rough of a beginning to the schedule. We can ease a couple of these rookies in, but for that, we will have to wait and see. For now, if there's not any final thoughts, questions, comments in the chat, make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe on your way out of the building. You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show, and we appreciate all of your support. I am Josh Wolliver, and I can leave you with one sign, hope of encouragement. Let's get it rolling, baby. Let's go Nets. I appreciate all of you joining in. Have a great rest of your evening and good night from the Brooklyn Boys.